StrayAllDay.com.
You're now tuned into the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there, even when the success you've expected to achieve has yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, you get a huge dose of personal initiative. That is the go-getter energy that moves any one of us, including yourself, to go and make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. And then we put all this together into a series of frameworks, approaches, insights, strategies, and techniques all underneath the umbrella of one unifying philosophy that is called work on your game. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day, and welcome to the show. And today's topic is salespeople. You are talking too much. That is the topic here today. Before we get into it, let me remind you of two things. Number one, my daily motivation and Monday motivation text message is guaranteed to have you focused, sharp, and on point to start your weeks and end your week as well. I mean, it'll take you through the whole week. All you got to do to be getting these messages, be part of my text community. It is free to join that community. All you have to do is text me at my number. I'll tell you it right now. It is 305-384-6894. Send a text to that number right now. When we reactivate the text messages to be going out consistently and make sure everybody is getting them, then you'll be getting it. You'll hear from our bots, then you'll hear from me, and then you'll be getting those messages consistently again. Also, rather, you'll be able to choose how often you want to get those messages. We'll get all that to you once we start sending messages out again. Not sending them at this moment, but we will be. So just text me now so it's taken care of on your end. My number is 305-384-6894. Secondly, Work on Your Game University. That's the place where I do all my coaching. If you'd like to be part of our program, where you can have me as your direct coach, meaning you can ask me questions, you can share challenges with me, you can get access to my insights, my strategies, my systems, and how they apply specifically to your situation, because you will be getting actual personalized attention for how this stuff applies to you. That is all happening at workonyourgameuniversity.com. That link is down below in the description, or you can just type it into your browser. Again, workonyourgameuniversity.com. With that out the way, let's get into the topic here today, which is salespeople. You are talking too much. This topic is specifically for anyone who is in sales, specifically those of you who have conversations. And when I say sales here, I am talking literally about sales where you're selling a product or a service in exchange for money, even though any type of influence or persuasion is also selling. But I'm here talking literal selling. And those of you who have conversations with your prospects in order to make a sale, meaning you have sales calls, that's what we call them, sales calls. So that means you could be having a sales call in person in an office building. You can have a sales call over Zoom. You can have a sales call in a phone conversation. Those of you who do sales calls to make a sale, I'm not talking people who work at, let's say, Sephora or Foot Locker, because you are in the sales too, but you don't have to have a sales conversation. You can just, somebody says, hey, do you have this in pink? Or do you have these in a size 12? And you go get the product and give it to them. They take it to the register, pay for it. I'm not talking about that kind of sales. I'm talking about sales that is a little bit more intimate, where there's a conversation prior to the exchange. And there's always a conversation prior to the exchange, that kind of sale. So when you're the person who's having those conversations with people before they buy, specifically those of you, and what I was thinking about when I came up with this topic was people in the coaching, consulting, speaking industries, any of you who's selling that kind of stuff, that can fall, many things can fall under those categories. So personal training, if you're doing any type of medical stuff, if you do cosmetic surgeries, all of these fall under coaching, consulting, speaking gigs, because you have to have a consultation before you sell the people the stuff. All right, you must stop committing the violations that I'm going to cover here in today's masterclass. Got it? Good. Point number one. Today's topic, once again, is salespeople. You are talking too much. Number one, nobody cares about your product or service. I'm going to take a sip of my water while you let that point sink in. Nobody cares about your product or your service. And actually, this applies also to those of you you're selling yourself. You go into a job interview, you want to sell yourself. You're in sales too, because the better you do in that interview, the better chance you get to the next stage in the interview process and possibly getting the job, right? People do not care about your thing that you're selling, even if the thing that you're selling is you. They don't care. Even the people who buy it don't care. So when I say people don't care, I don't just mean the people who ignore you and don't buy your stuff. I mean people who buy your stuff. They don't care about your product or service. Now you may be wondering, how is that possible, Dre? They bought it. How do they not care about it? See, the purpose of selling, folks, is only 3 steps in selling. All right, so any of you who doesn't know how to sell, write these down. Number 1, present your product or service. Number 2, speak about its virtues and how it solves the other person's problems. And number 3, ask for the sale. Those are only 3 steps of the sales process. 1, 2, 3. Present, share virtues, ask for the sale. That's all you're doing. And understand, What people care about is how to solve their problem or to get to their goal. Often it's to solve a problem, but sometimes it's to get to a goal. Both two sides of the same coin. Your product or service just happens to be able to do that. That's really what the sale is about. And as a rule of thumb, anytime you want another person's attention and you need people's attention, if you're going to sell them something, you need people's attention if you're going to sell them something. Focus on their needs, their desires, their interests, and their problems. That's how you get another person's attention. Focus on the things that they care the most about. And every human on the planet has some type of need, desire, interest, or problem in their mind or on their mind almost all the time. They have at least one of those on their mind almost all day, every day. At some point in the day, if they're awake and conscious, one of those things is on their mind. Now, they might not tell you, but they at least have one of those on their mind at all times. So the better you understand the needs, desires, interests, and problems of the people whom you would like to serve, the better you can sell. Because then you'll talk straight to them and catch them right in the middle of their thoughts, and they'll be like, "Damn, you're reading my mind. How'd you know? How'd you know I had that problem? How'd you know I had that need? How'd you know that's what I want? How'd you know that's what I'm interested in?" Because you have done the work and you've actually studied your target. You know who you're trying to reach. You know what their issues are. You know their needs. The more you thought about this, the more deeply you understand this, the better you can serve people by giving them what they need. Understand that your product is not the thing that they're interested in. What they're interested in is what your product could do for them, which speaks to, again, needs, desires, interests, and problems. So that's what your product does. So if you sell food, for example, you sell hot honey chicken plates with mashed potatoes and collard greens on the side. Well, if someone has a need to get something to eat, they desire to have a meal, if they're interested in food and their problem is they're hungry, see how I did all four, then your hot honey chicken plate solves their problem. You're speaking to what's going on in their mind. So, and again, I'm not talking really about that kind of selling, but I'm using that as a simple example so you understand it. The product itself, the food itself, is not really the main interest. The main interest is the person just is hungry and they want something to eat. Your thing just happens to look good to them, so they decide to buy it, and the price is right and whatever. The problem is the interest. What people are really interested in is themselves and what they have going on in their minds. So unless they are already aware of your product and they know they really want it, because there's a product that you want, you're like, I really want that product. It's like if somebody wants a Range Rover Sport SUV, and that's what they want. They're like, I really want a white Range Rover Sport. I really want it. And they've been thinking about it for the last 5 years that they want that car, and they've been saving up their money and planning on how much it's going to cost and getting the down payment ready and making sure that the financing is all in order. And then they finally come to the Land Rover dealership and they buy the white Range Rover Sport SUV. Okay, now that person is product focused because they're focused on the product because that's the thing that they want. But often when people are buying, it's not because they're looking for a specific product. It's just because they're trying to solve a certain problem. And if the product shows itself or presents itself as able to solve the problem, then a person will move forward. Your product is not the thing they're thinking about. Their problems are what they're interested in. They're just interested in the problem. All right, this is the problem, I want to solve it. And there's a distinction between these two, between the thing that you're offering and the problem that needs to be solved. Now, hopefully, your thing that you're offering does solve the problem. All right, but you got to understand this and use it in the conversation. Okay, here's how my thing solves your problem. You don't have to say it that way, but that's basically what you need to be getting across as a salesperson. So your focus is on, again, their needs and their desires, not your stuff and your offer, whatever it is. That's not really the point of the conversation and should not be the focus of the conversation ever. Not unless the person you're talking to, decides to make it the focus of the conversation. Now, if they want to talk about it, then you talk about it, but don't make it the focus of the conversation by your doing. If you do that, you're doing it wrong. Point number 2, and I'll tell you more as we keep going here. Point number 2, topic once again today is salespeople, you are talking too much. Number 2, sales is about uncovery and discovery. Uncovery a word? Uncovering, we'll just say. I don't know if uncovery is a word. But that's what sales is about. It's about uncovering and discovering what the person you are selling to wants, needs, cares about, and is interested in. That's your job as a salesperson, is to uncover and discover. So, and I'm not saying it's their job to uncover and discover about your product. No. It is your job as a salesperson to uncover and discover what they care about, what their needs are, why they're there, what they want, etc. That's your job to figure all this stuff out. And actually, you're not even figuring it out. I don't even want to use that phrase. So strike that from the record. Not figuring it out. It's uncovering what they need, want, and desire, because you're not figuring it out. Like, it's not like you're sitting in a lab by yourself just trying to pick this up off the ether, just floating by in the universe, in the atmosphere. You are going to uncover and discover what they want because they're going to tell you. Or they're going to tell you what they want because you're having a conversation, right? So when you're in a sales conversation, all you have to do is uncover and discover what the person wants. Now, how do you do this? Well, let me tell you what you don't do. You don't do this by talking and bloviating. You do not do this by having a perfected speech and giving your speech in the conversation. I've had a lot of conversations with salespeople, whether they are people who I am coaching on how to do better sales, whether they are people who are selling to me and I'm just having a conversation with them because I'm the customer or the prospect rather, and they are trying to sell me something, or is just listening to people give their sales pitches, hearing people give sales pitches, just seeing sales pitches. I've seen a good number of sales pitches, and especially in sales conversations. I'm going to be clear, I'm talking about sales conversations. So if you're selling from the stage, for example, you're at a conference and there's 1,000 people in the room and you need to give a sales pitch at the end of your presentation. Well, that's not a conversation. You can't go back and forth. You actually do need to talk there because you have the mic and you're on stage. You should be talking. That's not the situation I'm talking about here. So speaking and bloviating is not the thing that you should be doing. So to that end, you have to find out what the most important thing is for your prospect. And the way you do that, and let me back up. What is their biggest problem? What's their strongest desire? What is their most urgent need? What is the thing that they're looking to take care of, possibly through your offering? The whole conversation should be focused around that and not on your product. Your product or service is simply the solution to their main issue. All right, that's all it is. Your product is just a solution to whatever their main thing is, but the conversation should be about the main issue and not the thing. And this is all just based on you asking questions and listening. That's what this is. Understand that communication, when people hear the word communication, usually it triggers in us some thought about us getting our points across to other people. All right, so I have this that I want to share with you. So it's how do I want to say it? What verbiage do I want to use? Do I want to write it down? Do I want to record it? Do I want to say it to you directly? Am I going to call you on the phone? Do I want to do it on Zoom? I'm going to FaceTime you. I'm going to send you a letter. How do I want to communicate my message out to you? There are many different ways of communicating a message to another person. But at the same time, only half of communication is what you send to others. The other half of it is what you pick up from others. Communication is not just the speaking part, it's also the listening part. How well are you able to listen and pick up on what other people want to share or what other people have to share? And the better you get at this, the better you'll be able to connect with other people, because the biggest connections you make with other people is not based on the things that you say, it's based on the things that they say, and they're feeling as if you are actually listening to what they're saying. Right? People actually feel like you're listening to them when you're talking. Have you ever seen two people having a conversation, but is almost more like a back and forth or an argument, if you want to call it that? Because while person A is talking, person B, you can tell, is already just getting ready to plan out what they're going to say. They're not really listening to person A. They're being polite enough to let person A finish talking just so they can say what they want to say, but they didn't really hear what person A had to say. This happens in conversation a lot because most people are so focused on themselves and what they want to share that they don't even listen to what the other person or people in the conversation have to share. This is a bad habit to have if you're going to be a good salesperson. If you're a good salesperson, you have to get rid of this habit, because this habit is going to cost you opportunity, is going to cost you money, because you're going to miss out on some sales simply because you failed to listen. This is also important for those of you who have any type of sales script. And I think anybody who's doing anything professionally, you should have some type of system or process for how you do your thing. So as a salesperson, you should have some type of script, but you don't want the script to be, you don't want to be so rigid and connected to the script, or rigidly connected to the script, that you don't allow yourself to go off script if necessary based on what is being communicated by your prospect. So if you have questions 1 through 7 that you want to ask in your sales process, but somewhere along the line at question 3, your prospect says something that will lead you in a different direction than what question 4 is supposed to be, you should go in a different direction and go where the prospect wants to go. Because again, the whole point of the sales conversation is for them, the prospect, to feel as if they've been heard and understood, not for you to just ask your questions. Because listen, question 4 may be completely irrelevant based on where the rest of the conversation goes after question number 3. You might be able to skip question 4, 5, and 6 and just get right to whatever it is on question number 7, depending on what they said. So you have to have this flexibility while at the same time having a structure. So you want to have structure and be flexible at the same time. This is the art and the science, folks, of, actually you can apply this to damn near anything, but let's just keep the conversation where it is today, which is on a sales conversation or any form of communication. You want to have the art and the science to where you have the flexibility to go off script and go in different directions if and when necessary, But at the same time, there is a process that you can follow. So just in case, let's just say you go off script and okay, you finally got done with the off script part and you need to redirect the conversation and get it back to where it needs to go. You have a process to get back to. So let's say question number 3 in your 7-question process that you have in your mind. You don't have it, you're not showing them the question, you just got it in your mind. But after question 3, things go on a tangent and you go down that way and you go because it's useful, because you get some things that are necessary for the conversation because your prospect wanted to share them. But now when you're done going down that rabbit hole, now you can say, okay, well, let me ask you this then. And you bring it right back to question number 4. And you just keep following your process as you were going. You have to have that flexibility, or again, at the same time, respecting your process. This is an art and a science. This is why the stuff takes practice. It's not something that you just roll out of bed and you have the ability to do. But with the right amount of practice, you can get good at these things, just like anything else. So you need to know what the biggest needs are that your prospect has. And the better you know this, the better you'll be positioned to sell your thing. Point number 3, today's topic, once again, is salespeople. You are talking too much. Number 3, when you are selling, your prospect should be talking more than you're talking. I mentioned this already in point number 2. Your prospect should be doing more of the talking. Remember, communication is not just what you say, is also what you take in, what you listen to, what you hear, what you observe, maybe that people are not even saying. And you observe people's tonality, body language, all of these things are being communicated. And remember that most of communication is nonverbal. So a lot of things that people are communicating to you are not said through words, they're said through everything other than words. This means you should be asking questions more than you are pontificating. So pontificating is like what I'm doing here. So I turn on the mic and I just talk for 20, 30 minutes. I don't have anybody to talk back, so I should do that because I'm on the stage talking. But if I was having a conversation directly with you, let's say, for example, if I was interviewing people on this show, I wouldn't be talking nearly as much as I do. I'd be talking a lot less. And the person who I'm interviewing will be doing most of the talking because I'm going to ask them open-ended questions to get them to talk. Because the whole point of me bringing them on the show is for them to talk, not for me to talk. That's the whole point. But here in this format, I'm going to talk the whole time. So when you're talking to another person, you should be asking questions and letting them speak. That's it. Remember that people don't care that much about your product, not nearly as much as you care about your product. They care about their problem. Your product hopefully is a solution to their problem. So if your product has, let's just say there are 100 details and features of your product, people are not buying your product because they love all 100 features. And most of the time, they probably don't even know about all 100 features of your product. People usually buy stuff based on 1 or 2 main things. There are 1 or 2 main things that they need to find out. Every once in a while, somebody may even tell you what these 1 or 2 main things are, and they're actually telling you the truth. Most of the time, people will not tell you what these 1 or 2 main things are, not because they're trying to be cagey, simply because they don't know. They may know it subconsciously, but they're not able to verbalize it in a way they can tell you, like, listen, Mike, the reason we're having this conversation, I'm trying to find out points number 1 and number 2. So if your product can do A, B, C, and it costs less than $10,000, then I'm going to buy it. But if it can't do A, B, and C, or it costs more than $10,000, then I'm not going to buy it. If every prospect you talk to would just tell you that up front, then your sales conversations would be really short. They'd be like 5 minutes, and you would either have a no very quickly or you would have a yes very quickly. But most of the time, most people, your prospects that is, they don't understand their own needs well enough to even say that to you. All right, so you have to uncover and discover these things by asking the right questions. You have to find these things out because, again, they may know it, kind of sort of know it, but they don't really know it in such a way that it's in their conscious mind that they can say it in words. Most of the time, people can't do this. Now, you may run into one person out of, let's say one out of 100 who has that ability, but don't think that that's the norm. That is not the norm. Now, hopefully that person, whoever it is, you sell them, you can keep them as a customer, so then you just keep selling them over and over again, but you're probably going to need some more people than just that one customer. So people are usually making decisions based on a handful of key things, maybe 1 or 2, possibly 3 key things most of the time. And all the rest of the stuff that your product or service offers are cool to have, but that's not really moving the needle as to whether or not they buy. Now, why does that matter? The reason that matters is because you don't need to use up so much time and space in the conversation talking about things that are inconsequential to your prospect's decision-making process. So if I know the main things that I need to know before I get this car are how much of the monthly payment is going to be and how fast can a car go from 0 to 60. All right, that's all I care about. I want a car to go from 0 to 60 really quick, and I need monthly payments that are less than $500. All right, as long as I get those 2 things, and I'm good. I don't care about the cup holders. I don't care about the anti-lock brakes. Don't tell me about the airbags. Don't tell me about the safety ratings of the car. I'm not going to crash it. Don't tell me how big the trunk is. Don't tell me the size of the rims. Don't tell me about the sound system in the car. I don't care about any of that shit. I just need to know those two things. And the better you are at asking questions, salesperson, to find out what those things are for me, then the faster we can get to the point. And again, remember, your prospect often is not clear enough in their own mind to tell you this. So it's your job to find it out. So you got to ask the right questions that helps you get them to tell you what they you ideally would be able to tell you, but they can't. So again, you're the salesperson, you're the one doing the work. All right, they're not at work when you're selling. All right, remember, when you're selling to somebody, you're the one at work. Now, unless you happen to be selling B2B, then I guess technically you're both at work. Business to business, that is. Y'all both at work. But when you're the salesperson, you're the one who should be doing most of the work. They're just doing the evaluating and making the decision, and your job is to help them. So your conversations should focus around the key things that they care about the most, which you need to find out so that you know what to focus on, so you're not just randomly throwing stuff out there and hoping that something sticks. Understand that people don't need to know about everything that your offer has. You don't have to tell them about everything. Now, if you have for example, if you go to workonyourgameuniversity.com, on that's what we call a sales page or a landing page. On that page, we have a ton of information about everything that you get inside the university. But I know most of the people who are in the university right now, and most of you who will join in the future, you're not going to read every single thing on that page. There's a lot of material on that page. You're probably going to skim through it, get a pretty good overview and feel of what's in it, and then you're going to make a decision as to whether you're going to move forward or if you're not. But it's not like every single detail on that page is a make or break for you, because it's way too much information. Most humans don't have the capacity to hold that much information in their heads. And I'm talking like more than like 2 or 3 things. Anything more than that is too much information for most people. They don't care about all of it. They only care about some of it. Again, I'll say it one more time. Your job is to figure out what that sum of it is. Okay, so all the extras can be bonuses in the minds, at least, of your buyers. So if you're in a sales conversation, you're talking more than your prospect is talking, you are a professional speaker, but you're not a salesperson. All right. So if you just want to talk more than everybody else talks, then do what I'm doing here. Start yourself a podcast, go start a YouTube channel, go give some speeches where you can just stand on the stage, you can talk, and people will just sit and politely listen to you. But if you want to be a salesperson, you got to learn how to listen. Ask questions and shut up, and listen and let other people talk, because that's really where the sale gets made. So with all that said, let's recap today's class. Which is salespeople, you are talking too much. I've seen too many salespeople who spend way too much time in their sales conversations doing all the talking instead of asking questions and listening, which is what you should do. And let's talk about it. Number one, nobody cares about your product or service. Not even your customers care about your product or service. What they care about is having their problems solved. Number two, sales is about uncovering and discovering. It is not about speaking and bloviating, meaning you should not be telling people, you should not be wowing people with your eloquence in a sales conversation. What you can wow them with is your ability to listen and your ability to understand exactly what they need and where they are and why they're feeling how they're feeling. If you can show them that, they will be much more satisfied with that than they would be with you giving a dazzling PowerPoint presentation. Number three, when you are selling, your prospect should be talking much more than you are talking. That means you should be asking questions and shutting up. If you are pontificating and talking a whole lot rather than actually listening, then you are doing it backwards. And again, if you want to be a speaker, then go become a professional speaker, or go give a TED talk, go start a podcast, go start a YouTube channel. Just turn the selfie camera on your phone and just talk as much as you want to yourself. But if you want to be a salesperson, you got to learn how to shut up and listen. Or you should be listening when you are selling, not talking. All that said, folks, text me, see you on my text community. My number is down below in the description. Also, if you want to get better at sales, especially those of you who are selling high ticket, those of you who are selling face to face, and you want to sell online as well, you want your sales pages looking right, you want them structured the right way, because there is a certain structure and a art and a science to how sales pages get put together. Even your sales videos, your emails, your copy, all of that stuff. Go to workonyourgameuniversity.com. Click on the link there that says if you would like to work with me one-on-one, there are options for that. You can schedule a call so we can talk with us, see where you're at, where you want to go, what you need. All of that is at workonyourgameuniversity.com. Link is down below in the description. Again, workonyourgameuniversity.com. Dre, oh yeah, one more thing. Work on your game. Dre, all